what I did was that I just copied and pasted the nav from cafe into here, into the about page. So here it is, literally I just copied and pasted it, and then I wrapped it around the container so that it was aligned with the outside. And I basically did the same thing for the other two, so I'm not even going to go into those. But that's all it was. You just copy and paste that component into this, into that, into the other 3 pages, and it will go to each one. All right. So now let's talk about making this web page maybe a little bit more appealing. Let's go to the menu, and let's display just a basic grid here, grid with images of food and images of and the price and the title and all that stuff. We're gonna hard code it for now, but eventually we may even be looking into how we put it with a database. But for right now, we're just gonna focus on making a grid with images. So if we go on to our Bootstrap, handy dandy Bootstrap, we go to components. We can go to maybe something like a card, or maybe card should work. So we can use this one. This is fine, or maybe we can use something like this. Might be better. Yeah, let's use this one. So let's copy this, and let's go to our menu. And right underneath, this is the nav, and this is a div for that upper div, or is it for, what div is this for? I'm confused as to which div is which. This may not work, let's try it out. Oh, it works. Back to the drawing board. We have classes. Oh, this is so small. Have classes. And we have IDs. So for example, let's say we were going to make that grid of images that we're talking about, and we have a specific style that we want to apply to each of the cards. Now, since these cards, there's going to be multiple versions of this card, we want to attach a class attribute to it. For example, let's say we want to call this, we can just say this for now, call this a card, or a div, I guess, and then wrap this inside. And we say class is equal to card-container. And this is an arbitrary name that you set. You can say card, or like food-card, or whatever. But this is a better name. Card-container is like a more broad way of thinking about it. Like a better for like your other developers that are on this. You can know what you're talking about without really knowing what's going on in the rest of the project. And so you just have that there. And then this, well, the card's basic function, the class basic function of this div, is that it basically attaches a signifier. Like it's basically like a flag. Like it tells you, okay, this div has to take these styles from the index.css essentially. And so when you have multiple versions of something and you want to apply one particular style to that object, you just put a class in front of it. And that's how that works. So then you go to your index.css, this is your index.css file. And then now here you go .car-container, because this is how you modify class objects. And you say, I don't know, maybe like you want the background color to be different. So you say background color is blue. And like we can see that happen right now. We can actually go and test that, but this is how you access this card container. Now, the difference between a class and an ID is usually just for one particular object. So let's say you have one image, you have one picture, you have one object that you want to change its style. And so that is where you use an ID. So you say div ID is equal to menu underscore item. Let's see what the first item, the first 3 items are. You say like featured menu underscore first featured. And then this you can say in the index.css file, you say sharp menu, or hash, I guess, first underscore featured. And here you can say I want it to be the size to be 200% or something like that. It depends, whatever you want. So this is, you want it to apply to one object, and the class you could use it in other different, like, so this, I guess by convention you should use your class. You're able to use your class in multiple parts of the project, whereas your ID is like a very specific, it's like only for that object or only for that series of objects. Whereas a class can be used for multiple things. Like, you can use a container for pretty much anything. You can use a card container for another part of a card. It doesn't really matter what you're talking about necessarily. So I hope that explains it. It clears it out a little bit. So we're going to talk about how we make the grid in the next video using classes and IDs. Stay tuned. Alright, in the previous video we talked about how classes and IDs work together to basically maybe some signifiers or some flags for these objects. And here we're going to go back and get to work and make the grid work. Right, so here's your cafe and here's your card. So here we can say the image, we can talk about the classes, get card image. This is all from Bootstrap, so I recommend you don't change any of this unless you know what you're doing and you want to change like the size of it or something, and you want to add like an ID, for example. You say I don't know, card dash menu or something, and here you want the main CSS. This is our first part of CSS, card dash menu width. Let's do height. That's pretty more fun. 500 pixels. Save that. Reload this. Card dash menu. Card dash menu. Oh wait, I haven't imported the CSS, have I? Or is it not linked in here? Oh, it's definitely not. Yeah, it's definitely not. There we go. So you see that didn't work because the CSS wasn't linked here, and so you have to link it up every single project file. So we can change that afterwards. But look, you see how the height now is significantly longer, and even if the actual component, I guess you can call it, from Bootstrap has its own style guide, you can change all this stuff. You can change this to be 38, and that's just a different way of changing the style. It's usually better to change it in the CSS because it just makes your code super bloated, and you don't really want that. Alright, so let's just go back to how it was before. Save that, save this. Alright, that's your card. Let's put a couple more of these cards. So this div lines up with this one, and this one goes here. Perfect. So let's copy this, copy, paste, paste, paste. Oh, okay, so we don't want that, not necessarily. We want them to be left to right, right? So let's say we can put this inside of a container, div, class name. I think we can do that, or we can put it inside of a row. This might work, I'm not sure. Don't really use static HTML that much, but here we go. Okay, let's try a container. So we go layout. I know how to fix this. You have to make a flex box. Oh, I'll talk about that. Actually, that would be a good Good idea. Let's do menu dash container here. Alright, so the reason that it wasn't working is that we need to actually implement a flexbox. And a flexbox is very useful if you're wanting to align things nicely. So menu dash container, and you say, I'll actually link up a resource that is very helpful to me. So I'll just do display, flex, justify, I guess not align, flex direction. And then you can say row, column, so I'll do this in a row. Let's say this, let's see what happens now. Dot menu container, Oh, class name. Shoot. Yeah. Menu dash container, display flex. This is not working as I expected.
One eternity later.